In this video, I'm going to show and talk about some of the things you need to keep in mind if you're going to do some surgery on your Joomla database. Hey there, Joomla fans. Tim Davis here. I'm a Joomla fan too, and thanks for tuning in to Watch Me Work live stream number 37 here on the Basic Joomla Tutorials YouTube channel. There was no live stream last week. I've been traveling for 10 days, and in fact, there's been no Maintenance Monday for the last couple of weeks. So it's good to be back in the studio and good to get back online and streaming and talking about some of the things. As you can see, it is a beautiful summer. Well, summer's not here officially, but a beautiful hot day here at CyberSalt World headquarters. So I've broken out the penguin shirt to celebrate the fact. Plus, it's kind of warm in here. I have to close all the windows so that noise is not too bad. Anyway, so why am I talking about this today? Let me just bring up here to say chat. Yes, thank you, Mary. Mary loves the shirt, and Vinny says, "Holy penguins, Batman." So why the topic today, this doing a surgery on your Joomla database? I had a comment or question from someone in on the channel, and they had experienced their site had been hacked, and it was no longer online, and they wanted to get the content out of their old database and put into the new database. So we're going to talk sort of that scenario and some of the things that you could do in that case. But what I thought was I would really like to have something, a resource on the channel where people can go and see and just see the basics of working in the actual database itself. So that's the impetus for today's topic. And oh, the penguin shirt is like really rocking everybody's world today. Okay, Valerie's pretty happy with it too. All right, well, let's head on over to the screen here. And first of all, make sure you have a backup of your Joomla site. If you don't have a backup of your Joomla site, as this person obviously didn't, you're going to be it's just a pain to try to restore everything. But now, especially if you're tinkering around in the database for your Joomla site and it is, and it's a live site, or it's not necessarily because your site is down, you're trying to get things out of it, always make sure that you have a backup of your Joomla site. So use a Kiba backup. I have tutorials on the channel. There'll be a description, a link in the video below. But also, if your site is down and you can't run it anymore to do a backup with the Kiba, there is a way that we'll see to back up the database before you start to tinker around with it. So, especially what I'm going to show you, it's super important because it's super easy to break stuff. I mean, this is the database is the brain of Joomla, and I think the templates and all of the other files that present the information, that's sort of like the heart. There's some spirit there. There's some panache. There's some expression. So that's the heart of your Joomla site, but the brain that's got all the information that gets served up for the heart to display in whatever artistic or organizational means you have, that is the database. And so we're going to pick away at the database. And man, if you're doing brain surgery, well, brain surgeons would probably like to have a backup brain that they could go to if they mess something up. But so you definitely want to do that. So I am going to, let's see, I got a box just hanging out. Okay, so here we are in the back end of the basic Joomla site. Hey, if you've caught my live stream last night about the update to Joomla, I messed up getting this entry form for this month's contest. So 18 days left. Oh my goodness, 0 entries. The odds are so great that you could win. So head on over to basicjoomla.com/giveaways. All right, so I'm just going to go into System and Global Configuration in this Joomla install. And I just want to see that the database user, the database name for this particular install is Basic Joomla. Because what I'm going to do next is go into the control panel for my web hosting account. And I'm going to use a tool, and it'll scroll down, it'll be in the area databases, PHP MyAdmin. So this is a graphical interface to allow you to interact with the database and the tables and the rows that make up the brain of your Joomla site. So let's just click on PHP MyAdmin. Oh, by the way, now I'm using cPanel here. It's a hosting product. Another one you might have is Plesk. I've never done anything on Plesk. but I see it enough. I think it's probably pretty good. Or maybe your web host has some crazy thing for accessing the database. Seriously, if your web host doesn't have something easy for to access the database, or you don't, it's not as easy to navigate as we have here, then we will. Then you should look into changing hosts. I don't want to pick on your host, but man, this cPanel has great tools here. So we're going to click on PHP Vinny's asking in chat when he'll ever get out of detention. That's because he's in detention on the header of the site. And Vinny says he thinks I should edit the MySQL database using command line. That would be fun to watch. Yes. So the reason, I said that this is a graphical interface. So it's presenting information to you in a graphic way that makes it easier for you to interface with it, a user interface. And you can just there are hardcore people out there that would just do by typing commands and stuff like that. But no, that would only be entertaining for everyone but me. All right, so I looked up the database name, and it was Basic Joomla. You see, I have lots of databases here from the different installs I have. When we click on when you click on the database that corresponds to your Joomla install, you'll be presented with a list of tables, and in those tables there will be lines that you can look at. And as you just, in fact, again, before we do anything, look at this here. This tab here, Export. Click on Export, and this is another way to back up your database. So especially if your site is not working, I have to decline that caller. If your site is not working and you can't run a backup, you can back up your database this way by going Export. Now here's the quick display only minimal options. Basically, this is your whole database. If there's something unique that you want to back up, you could go custom and you could just select one of the tables. In fact, I'm going to uncheck these BF_ folders because those are the ones that relate to myjoomla.com and their activities. All right, so those are selected. I'm going to go down here and we'll just click go, and it's going to prompt me to download that file. There we go. And I'm just going to put it right in my delete folder here. Look, I already have this from before. Last time was April 15th, 2018. So I'm going to leave the one on the end there. And then that will be downloaded to my site. So now we have something that we could replace if we break something. All right, let's go back. We could just click Basic Joomla, this database here, or we could just click up here. That takes us back to the listing here. Now, if you take some time to familiarize yourself with what's happening here, things will start to twig for you. There is a prefix before the tables, and mine is CYB. And as we scroll down, we see there's CYB ACY, so I have ACY mailing installed on this. Admin tools, so here's some information for admin tools. Akiba, advanced templates, advanced modules, that probably might be regular labs. Anyways, we scroll down, let's take a look down at categories. So here is a list of the categories that exist in your Joomla install. So let's go browse. And that's going to bring up a number of lines here. And you can start to look across at the top of the columns here. And you will see, let's see title. So we have a whole bunch of that are uncategorized. But then we get down to past giveaways, Joomla tutorials, default, maintenance Monday live streams, watch me work live streams. And indeed, if we go back into the back end of the site, because it is running, we can see there are the categories. Uncategorized giveaways, past giveaways, Joomla tutorials. Now, I'll show you something really cool here, just to show you the connection. And some of you this is familiar for, but maybe others are just getting the lay of the land here. Let's go down to where it says the extension title is giveaways. Now, let's go over to here, and you could click edit. That's going to open up this particular row in the table, and you'll see there we go. We have the title is giveaways. Watch if I'm going to put an extra S right there, and we'll go down to the bottom here, and we'll say go. And now when we refresh, we'll see that giveaways has 2 S's in it. So just to help you understand the relationship between the database, the brain, and the heart of your site, the files and what's being presented, and how they're presented, if you change something directly in the database, it's the same as changing it through this interface, because basically Joomla is itself, the admin area is its own kind of user interface, graphic user interface, that will allow people to not have to just go into the database and type things and figure out where things are. It's presented in a nice way for us to just use easily and not have to learn all that stuff. To demonstrate, I'll go into this category, and we will take out that last S there. We'll save and close. And now I'm going to refresh this page. And as we go down, you'll see in the title, giveaways only has 1 S. Now, notice I used edit to edit this line over here. You can also just double click and you can type right in the cell in order to change things. So far, what we've seen is make sure you back up your database. And now we're taking a look and seeing that there are different tables that relate to different extensions or part of the Joomla site where your information is stored, which is really good to know because, for instance, in one case, if there's something that's just goofy and you can't figure out how to fix it using Joomla, like let's say, something advanced, like I have a website that does not want to update the version of a certain extension, even though it keeps getting installed. That's probably something to do with something that can be fixed inside the database itself through this method. I'm not going to show that today, but as another example, if you can't get to the articles in the database, you can actually just go in and you can find that information. We'll see that now. Ivor asked the question, I see the activity log for BF activity log database type area. Do I know why? I do not know why. I haven't noticed that. Let's go back to up here we'll click. We'll go back to the database view where we see the tables. And I didn't see what you've got there. Just Ivor's question, BF_activity log. It's a my-ism. My-isam is the type there. So I'm not sure. I don't see where it says area. So maybe you could clarify that in chat there, Ivor. All right, so back to looking. Oh, okay, you've got it. So it might be a setting. So that's what you've got in yours. It's probably related to your server setting, Ivor, or whatever your hosting is using, I would guess, but I don't know. It's a little bit of the databases. I'm getting better at them, but they are a bit of a mystery, a lot of those finer points of them. All right, so let's scroll down here. We're going to look for content. And here we go, CyberSalt content. And you'll look at, as we look at, bring this up higher. CyberSalt content, rating, content. There we go, content by itself. We look across, there's 115 rows. So let's just click on that to bring up all those rows. And now we can see here is one row per article that we have in Joomla. So here's, for instance, ID 289. Let's go to the article view here and list those. And then I've got ID over here on the far right, 17,000. That's a high number. I have no idea why the ID is so high there. I think it's from migrating from one site to another, some of these pages. Anyway, so there, look, hey there, Joomla fans. ID number 2, it's uncategorized, and there's the date that it was created. So now when we look in here, why don't we just open this by editing? We have item ID 2, asset ID 43, the title. Hey, excuse me. Hey there, Joomla fans. And then you see the alias. And now check this out here. Inside the intro text is the intro text field is the HTML for that. I wonder if this will increase in size. Yeah, let's take a look at that right there now. Let's close this. That's sort of, there we go, just above me up here. So there's the HTML for that article. Now if we go back into that article and wait for that to open, we have this view here, but again, that's the WYSIWYG view. What you see is what you get. I don't know if that's a true what you see is what you get view, because this will look differently on the front page in the template. But here's the editor. But if we go to code, we will see that the exact HTML that is here is also here. And literally, it is not also here. Basically, it is here. When we work in this graphical user interface in the back end of Joomla and say, I want to look at an article, it serves up the stuff that's in the database. And there it is. So in this way, if you had a lot of, if you had some articles that were lost in a database because your site had been hacked, it wasn't working like this, the person that mentioned it in chat, you could go back into the database for your old site or the hack site, and you can go in and you could collect each of the articles. Now that works great if you have a small site. If you have a huge site, you're going to want to look at some other tools that will do that. If your database is running but your Joomla site is not running, you could always use an extension called SP Transfer. You install that on a new Joomla site, and then you put in the information for connecting to the old Joomla site, and you can move content over, and it goes very quickly and very fast. So that is great, especially if you're moving content from one site to another. In this case, though, we're just going to play around inside the database today. Now, some things to consider. Let's see here. Let's see. We have the date created by 1000. Right up here, we see user 1000. Well, who is user 1000? I bet you I know who it is. It is user manage. Open that tab. User 1000 is me. How about that? Now here's Bruce Wayne, Batman at basicjoomla.com. If I want to change the username on this article, you could always just go and change it. Say create it by 2. Create it by 1002. And then we go back into here. We will refresh, and we'll see, hey there, Joomla fans. When that refreshes, did I do that right? Oh, who knows? What did I change? 1002. Oh, I changed specify a character set early. See? That's an example of why you want to have a backup of your database, because if you do something goofy and change something you didn't want to and you don't know how to undo it, you can just go back. So you may want to make backups often. Now, this title here is specify a character set. So all I have to do here is go to search, specify, and there we go, specify character set early, and now there's the author, Bruce Wayne. Again, as expected, we can double click there, change that back to 1000. We can refresh this here, and now the author is back to me. So if you lose something inside of your if something is lost to you but you still have the database, you can go in and start to get information out. Now, I will say that I am not totally familiar with, I don't know why chat's not coming up. Let's try that one more time there. I am not totally familiar with everything that happens when you save an article. So for instance, you can assign a tag to an article. I don't think that we will see anywhere on this screen here where the tags are added. So in that case, yeah, we don't see any tags, although they might be added in there somewhere. I wonder if they're in here. Nope. Anyways, the way that Joomla works, there's different things that you do and you save, and some things are stored with the content, other things are stored in other tables. So if you start moving around items and articles from one category to another, or you want to change things on bulk, I would, if your site is live, do something. Just save yourself the effort and go and use DB replacer from Regular Labs. You can switch a lot of things. Or again, if we go to articles here, let's clear this. Why don't I just select this, and this article. Let me put the screen on. Okay, we're back in the article view here. And now we have this handy thing up here, this batch system. Basically, what the batch process does is interacts with the brain of your site, the database, and you can then actually move articles from one category to another or remove things on bulk. And the nice thing is about this is if there's something that you don't understand, or if there's something that I don't understand about what's happening with tags being added and where they're stored and where you have to change them all, then certainly this is the best method to do it, and it's a lot easier. So you can change the language, you can change the category, you can move or copy to a category, change access level, or adjust the tags that are on the site. But basically, here is this is the brain of your Joomla site. So back up. If your site is operating, use some different tools like a Regular Labs DB replacer, or if you're rescuing from a database for a site that's not online anymore, use SP transfer and move that over. Or if you're really stuck, or if there's something that you need to go in and change in a database, even if you have a problem and you post it in a forum, go right in through PHP MyAdmin and very carefully hunt and peck things out. Let's go back. We're in the view for all the tables here. Let's go back to tags. Let's see what tags looks like. All right, CYB tags. Browse. And here we have the tag numbers and the Joomla the path for the name of those tags. When they're published, checked out or not, and if they've been modified by a user or created by a user, and other things you might set up, images, URLs, and their publishing up and down times. So there again, you could see that in tags. Now, somewhere, and I think it's this mysterious little table, and feel free to chime in on chat if there's something you want to add, or there's something that I'm stating wrong or missing. But if we look for assets, this is a mysterious table to me. We browse, and you'll see here is sort of a record of the things on the site and the assets, and this is referenced in such a way so that I don't fully know. But here, let's see. We're seeing 25 rows at a time. Up here, we see there's 295 rows. Let's look at 250 here. Oh, search in the database is also useful. Thanks, Ivor. That's a good point. And why don't we do that in just a sec? So as we scroll down, you'll see that there's a record for every asset in your Joomla site. So here are assets for your administration component, banners, cache, check-in, all these base things. But then as we get down here, we'll see modules, and then we will see, as we scroll down even more, com_content.article.8. And so that's the 1 year membership giveaway 2017. So each article in your site has some kind of record in the assets table. And so the reason that I point this out is because you might change something in an article, but it might not necessarily change all the numbers all the way through. Well, I know it's not going to change the numbers in the assets table. So, again, working in the database this way is sort of often as a last resort, just trying to figure something out. Even to the point where something might be so broken, you would just be happy to get back so that it was a little bit broken, and you will deal with things later on. So because I can change the title to to an article as we did earlier, but it's not going to change the title here in the assets. So you might notice some peculiar behavior when you get doing things. In fact, UCM content 9, I think that might be tags. Valerie says, today's good timing, the topic. Database, one of your sites has 24 problems. Server table is out of date. Front end is just fine. Back end, no. Yeah, so Jessica Weber, hi. Thanks for coming on the chat today. Valerie's web hosting company tech guy attributes problem to incomplete Joomla updates, and the info on redirects indicates site was hacked at some point prior to you noticing this past week. Okay. Yeah, so you got your database has a bad flu. Yeah, so there may be some things in here that you can fix. The incomplete Joomla updates, that could be something you want to just reinstall. Your web hosting guy told you should rebuild the website from scratch. Don't have a clue how to do that. Or Tim or me, anyone, can you speculate as to why I got the feedback instead of salvaging things as you are demonstrating? Oh, okay. So why did they tell you to just build over? Well, partly because of this whole element here. There's probably mystery. So I don't know if your host is a Joomla person or knows it really well, or maybe they're just like me and know it a bit. But once you get fixing some things, it could very well, things will just be out of sync and there'll always be problems. I've had Joomla sites for years that had finicky little things, like for instance, I couldn't use the batch feature, or some for instance, what else? Something else wouldn't come up in the menus, or I get a 500 error when I am trying to say go to banners. And so the site works well enough so I can live with it. But for it to be absolutely pristine and perfect without errors, then that can be fiddly. So they may very well, also your host, if they say go in your database and start switching things around, or try this or try that, you may, and it breaks, then it kind of comes back on the host and it's like, oh my goodness, now I got to help with this and try to sort it out as well. So it could be that. And so the other thing too is, and I learned this a long time ago when I got stuck on a PC and I just think I'm just going to reinstall Windows. I always took that point as, instead of complaining that it was a Windows problem, I just knew I reached the outside limit of my knowledge or understanding or experience. And so I thought, well, I'll just try to wipe everything straight. Let's see, let me catch up on chat here. Mary says she's found after repairing sites it takes longer than using SP transfer to transfer the important info to a new site. And Vinny says go to extensions, manage database, and click the fix button. I was going to mention that too that's a good advice there, Vinny. Don't forget to back up though, Valerie. And Ivor said still could be a backdoor or hacked file somewhere. That's true too. And again, so that's another point that I want to make. Excellent points all happening here. Let's see here. Just to catch up here. If you are rescuing data from a database that was for a site that was hacked, you could possibly move over some of the stuff that allows your site to be hacked. It's somewhere in your database. Possibly, or it might just be on your file, who knows. So what I would say is that if you're moving stuff from a hacked database or a hacked site, move your content, move the data that you can't replace. Don't try moving don't try moving some of the stuff that would be put in when you reinstall a favorite extension like ACY mailing. But again, you're going to want subscribers information out of ACY mailing. So you could probably export that table and import it. So there's little things like that. But if you're moving from a database that is hacked, or for a site that's hacked and the database might be hacked, just move the minimum over. Just at that point, you're in rescue mode. Now, Vinny's idea there about go to database and extensions, manage database, and click the fix button, that could actually take care of things. Now, again, if you're concerned that you were hacked, definitely go to myjoomla.com and run a free audit, and that will tell you if there's anything hacked and show you some things. And again, we get into a situation here where how much is your time worth? Because even though a subscription to myjoomla.com, if you haven't won one from entering the monthly contest here on this channel, it's going to cost a little bit of money. It's going to save you a lot of time. And it's going to save you frustration as well, which is going to give you clarity and focus and energy to allow you to move on to something else in the project. So if you've got something that you're log jammed at and you can afford to spend some money to get free, I think in the long run, you're going to catch up with the time, just everything else. Use the time that it saves you to make some money and to pay for that. All right. Valerie asks, are you using Linux or Windows hosting? You have Windows with Plesk. A fellow at your web hosting company said Joomla was built for Linux. Does this ring true with anyone? I have not heard that Joomla was built for Linux, because that's the first that I have ever heard that. I've never seen in a forum people asking questions and saying they're in a Windows machine and them saying, oh, well, it doesn't work for that, or it was built for Linux. So I don't think that is the case. So I have Linux. My company uses Linux, and that's the hosting that I provide for my clients. And I have cPanel as you saw. And then Mary and Vinny, you asked your tech guy about that fix button. He so far hasn't confirmed that that'll do the job. It may not do the job, but back up and give it a whirl. A creative whirl, as we see from your channel there. Mary says my Joomla is worth the dollars. It saved you on a few sites with the tools including the hack file reviews. Yes, that's pretty cool too, because in my Joomla it will show you files that are hacked. Now I'll show you some files that are hacked in my Joomla in just a second. Let's get back to search, because I don't want to lose that from Ivor here. So here we were in the assets table, some funky stuff happening here that connects to some other things. So again, we're talking, you do as much as you can inside of Joomla using the tools or extensions that are designed for moving things. Put the screen back on here. Is designed for things and for moving things, and then that will do it properly in the database. Ivor mentioned about search. Check out this tab up here. Let's go back to the whole database. And now we have this search tab here. Now we can type a word or values to search for, and the wildcard is percentage. So remember I had Bruce Wayne. So I'm going to search the entire database for the word Bruce. And I'm going to select all files, or all tables. We click go, and now we can scroll down this side here, and if it appears anywhere, you'll see there's a match. There's one match in CyberSalt content, and there's also a match down here in UCM history. Don't know what that is. And then there's one match in users. So we know what the users is. If I click there, it scrolls down, and there is in the CyberSalt users, here is the name, Bruce Wayne. There's the Bruce, Batman. That's that username. Remember, 1002. We can go back up to content. I wonder where Bruce is in the content. Let's go browse. And it's in this article here. Now, it might be in a field, buried in a field. It's not showing everything here. I wonder where Bruce is in that. We can edit this and look. Now this is open. I'm going to use F3 in my browser and search for BRUCE, and it finds it in 3 places. Oh, and look, here it is. Before I give you that tweak I use in the CyberSalt site, I want to first give all credit to Bruce Rick for initially helping me accomplish this on my site. And look at that. Here, I want to first cite his article and readers' comments on my site a number of versions ago. Look, I'm going to fix a spelling mistake right there. R. It should be number. Anyways, there's Bruce. Just to show the search feature, if there is something that you really just need to find, like a name, or you want to go and find where something is misspelled or somewhere, you can do it by searching the whole database. Remember too that DB Replacer is from Regular Labs is a great way to search tables for things in your Joomla install as well, to see where they show up and where. So anyway, so that's that. Now let me get back to chat here. We're in an active chat today. Vinny says Joomla is a PHP program. PHP is not strictly a Linux-based software. Thank you, Vinny, for that information. That is good. Yes, I knew it was in PHP. Yeah, that's cool. And Vinny says, I don't think your tech guy knows enough about Joomla to be answering your questions. The fix button won't hurt your site. It shouldn't. Yeah, I think it shouldn't hurt your site, although I have had sites that ended up giving me the white screen of death when I clicked fix. But that's why you want to back up. But while you're in here too, while we're in here, let's take a look at this. If I go back to the table view and look at showing all tables here, if I check all, I also have some options in PHPMyAdmin, and they are for exporting or emptying or dropping. Oh, don't empty or drop. That's, well, emptying is bad. Drop is super bad. But unless you want, here, although if from an other database you exported an ACY mailing user table and then went into your new database, you could delete the user table and then import it, and then it will make a new one. So there are some times where you want to do that. Where you might want to empty out a table or remove it because you're going to import a table or import lines from another site. That's a little bit more, probably a bit outside of what we're doing right now today. Although, who knows, maybe we'll get to it. Yeah, but you have options here. So, for instance, sometimes you end up with, I don't know, a lot of overhead or things that you might want to change. You can optimize a table and it will do it. And now certain kinds can't be optimized, but here's loading doing this whole thing. Mary says 99% of the time that she has clicked fix, it helped. One time was a disaster, and that was a site that had been too corrupt to fix. Okay. So you see some of these tables here do not support optimizing. Others do. And yeah, so you have some tools there to play around with. All right, let's go to my Joomla and take a look at what it looks like when a site is hacked. I'm going to be speaking at the Dallas, I think it's the Dallas Fort Worth. Is it Dallas Fort Worth or Houston, Dallas? I don't know. Mary was kind enough to recommend me to do a demonstration to the Joomla user group there. And so I think it's like July the 8th, I'm going to be live streaming it and showing them my Joomla. Now here's the site here. Behold, thou art hacked. It's a Joomla site that I have that I moved hacked files to for doing tutorials and stuff like that. And so we will see from the latest audit, click the audit tab, that here it's asking me, am I hacked? And it shows there's 155 files that have a malicious pattern matched in the content. It will also show you other files that are capable of uploading files. They might not necessarily be hacked, but you can check them out. So let's click investigate. Yes, okay, Dallas Fort Worth, Texas group, Mary says, yeah. Vinny says that he prefers Linux Unix-based hosting because they're traditionally faster and don't have to be rebooted as often and typically and are not bloated with Windows stuff. Alrighty. Now, yes, bloated with Windows stuff. Hey, look, I got a bunch of WordPress stuff on this site too. I wonder when I put that in. Huh. Anyways, okay, so here is a list of files that are with suspected content. And usually when it says hacked, it probably is hacked. But you want to look at every single one. This offers you the opportunity to delete files, but you really want to go in and look. So why don't we check out this pinesaid.php. Modules, mod finder, pinesaid.php. I'm going to click the magnifying glass. And then we're going to look down here, and you start to get a feel for, is this a Joomla site file? Now, there's nothing in the top that says anything about Joomla, and this is all looking pretty goofy. And then so for some reason, Phil has matched this. And did you know that myjoomla.com, Phil uses sources that are closer to the discovery of files being hacked than the GED, for example. And so Phil is just using crazy stuff to keep up to date on things. So, but anyways, this if empty get end files, who knows? I don't know what's going on here, but it looks like this looks pretty hinky. It doesn't look like a Joomla file. So there's an example. Let's see if there's a clearer example here. Let's go to let's see if this one here, what it looks like in here. Yeah, see, this is crazy. This is a crazy one. When you look in here and see, let's zoom in on this. You can see this is a wild file here. Especially if you cannot read a single word. All right, there's replace, which I think is a PHP deal. But look at all this JPL, JC, and all this stuff. That is not doing anybody any good. Yeah, Mary says at first she would compare the files with the fresh install version, so you start to get a feel, as I said, for what a real issue is. Yeah, let's do that, Mary. That's a good idea. Let's look at a file that's not hacked. Here's let's see. I don't know why there is WordPress pages in here. I don't know how I did that. The Windows versus Linux thing started out regarding another matter. Folder permissions configuration.php was set to writable, and I remarked from my other sites it is set to unwritable. Back to more in your discussion with your host there. Yeah, that's fine. Let's go to back here. Let's go to Joomla sites. Let's go to basic Joomla. And then let's go to the audit. And notice here, I've got 19,724 check suspect malicious pattern. So let's investigate. Nothing is showing up as definitely hacked, but there are some things in here that Phil thinks are hinky, or that his system looks at and says, hey, you should check this out. And so let's find a file here. Com ACY. Let's look at this. This looks like Q temple automated.php. Let's take a look at this file here. And we will see, this is nice and tidy. This is what you're looking for. Some comments, says what it's for, package ACY mailing for Joomla, a version, author, Akiba, It's like, hey, thank you very much for a nice file that looks like it belongs there. So we close that. Let's try something else here. Let's see. Administrator components, com, admin, helpers, HTML, PHP setting. Let's take a look in there. And again, here we have a beautifully laid out site, a page. Joomla.administrator, subpackage, com admin, copyright, open source matters. It just looks good. Now, just because it has that stuff at the beginning doesn't mean that's not a hacked file. But hackers are not out there to, they don't really finesse things. They sort of have just a big hammer. But you would kind of look through, what does this file do? And but this is a nicely organized thing. So before, let's just take a look at one other thing here. Let's see. Administrator components, com admin tools, engine, HT access. Let's take a look at what that one looks like. Now here we don't see any Joomla stuff, but it's an HT access file. And HT access files help control rules and do things for your server in a folder or for subfolders. But so if module, you would sort of expect to see some things like that. But still, if you don't know, what the other thing that you can do, and I've done this in the past, if you're not sure, you could contact Akiba, because they're admin tools, and you could say, is this file supposed to be here? Or you could create a simple Joomla install admin tools right off of their file, right off of their site, or download a fresh copy, install a fresh copy, and then look at what the fresh file looks like, and then you'll know whether it's been changed or not. But just the fact that it's not flagged as hacked here, that I feel pretty good about that. So it's science, because I guess programming is a science, but it's also a bit of a finesse. It's like dance. You gotta figure out the moves, and as it says right here, don't just click through this list deleting things you know nothing about, because you'll break your site. All right, let's go back to the hack site here and close this and close this. Let's go to manage the site. Let's go to our to our audit, to our hacked files. Let's see if we can find a really juicy. I know there's a juicy one in here somewhere. Let's see. Plugins, XCalendar. Let's check that out. Looking for a big, nice red block of like shouldn't be in there. Now this is Super Cache plugin. That's highlighted. Now I don't know why that's highlighted. It does show package Joomla.plugin Super Cache. Copyright 2005 to 2013. That's an older one. But as we scroll down, is there any other red stuff that's oh, okay. And then this is highlighted base64 decode. Okay. And there's XCalendar data. I would think that these are perhaps in the database that Phil has of past extensions that have been hacked or have a vulnerability. And when he does the audit, he's looking in every file for certain patterns and for things. And when it finds it, gives it for you to check out. And this could very well be something that has been fixed and closed and only exists in the hacked version. Ivor, good point. Hackers often insert code in the middle of the file. All right, and that's what I was saying earlier. Just because it has Joomla and has nice organization at the top, it could just be stuck in there. Now, I do remember this file because see here, look at this pattern. Home, stay gold, public. That was my son-in-law's site, which got hacked. And that's how I copied this file over because this is not even in the path because this here should be basic Jew, which is the unfortunate 8-character account name on the server for basic Joomla. So we scroll down, see anything, and there's these other things that are here too. So I would feel very confident deleting this. I'm not going to because I like to hang on to it for tutorials. But the other thing too is we looked at XCalendar. You can always Google XCalendar. Let's go Joomla calendar. Calendar. And hey, look what comes up here. Pharmacy hack, AI contact safe, and XCalendar in the Joomla forum from 2014. So that is helpful. What I was thinking might happen was that there would be an XCalendar extension, and I could just go and contact them, say, hey, is this file actually hacked? But here we can read about the pharmacy hack here, and it was installed in plugin system XCalendar. Is that what we were looking at? Plugin system XCalendar, yep. And, well, we could read more about that. But anyways, so that's a hackaroony right there. What else have we got here? Green.php. That's, again, that's got, to me, that thing seems like a bit of a hinky file name. I don't see green.php. Could be. But as we see here, we click on it. Oh, and actually, instead of viewing it, it shows the actual lines where there's stuff that's weird. And so this is a great one for us to look at closer. Let's go and zoom in. Just to catch up, Vinny says Windows always decides to do their own thing and make cross-platforming nearly impossible. Yeah, example, Internet Explorer. Yep. And Valerie says, thanks for all the tips. You always back up with Akiba. In 6 years, simple personal sites you've never had to get into relying on it, and you're nervous about getting into it. You need to learn. Yeah. If you're talking about Akiba, yeah, Akiba is fine. And they're really well documented, Valerie. So Now here's a gross hacked file here. PHP version, and then if you look at a file and think, what the heck is this? Yeah, probably, especially down here, all this stuff highlighted. This is just, that's when you see a file like that, that's the body odor of hacked files. So it just doesn't smell right. Anyways, and again, I am not a rocket scientist when it comes to programming. And I can find my way around a forum, and I can look for things to change and edit according to instructions. So really, myjoomla.com is just a huge foundation for what I do for my clients and on my sites. I just know it's there. I know it's running audits. I get regular reminders that this particular Joomla site is hacked because it says your site is hacked, and I know it's hacked because I'm leaving there. But it's just worth the peace of mind to move on. And that's good. And that's why only one of all my sites is showing hacked. Ivor says, the most problematic is when the hacker gets access to the database. Always set a very good password to the database when you create it. Yes. And one of the things that you'll notice if, excuse me, one of the things that when you run an audit on your site in my Joomla is that it will tell you if your database password is, I forget what it is. I think it can sense somehow if you're using the same user for multiple databases. That's important to just use a different passwords for if you have a different user in your database area, of course it has to have its own password. Then that way, if one database gets hacked, it doesn't spread to all your other stuff. Someone hasn't found a successful username password combination and make other things vulnerable. So yes, all right. So let's go back to this hack site here. Let's go to manage site. I don't know what else is happening in here. If you maintenance Monday, I show a lot of these things. So hey, look, Joomla cache is not enabled on this. Disable mail to friend to prevent spamming. So many good things here to just do quick, which I'm going to be going through what I do when I install a new Joomla site when I speak at that Joomla user group and show this. Ivor says you very seldom need to use the database password anyway. That's correct. And you can also add users to a database and give them different permissions. So let's say there's let's say a company that you're working for has an app that wants to access the username and address of your Joomla site so it can interact in the app environment. You can give that app access to your database, but only to be able to do certain things and see certain things, whereas your username still has full access, or the one that you give to Joomla. All right, so let's see here. Switch back here. Chat on right. Is that going to pop up? Yes. Have I caught up on all the suggestions or comments that were made? Because I don't want to fall behind or leave anyone behind on that. Let me just check something here. Okay. Great. And bring this up here. All right. Have we anything else that we can do here in the table here? You can do find and replace in a certain table, and or show queries. What is the thing? Operations, is it? You can check. There's all kinds of things you can do in here. There is ways to break your site that I probably haven't even discovered here in PHP my admin. So gotta remember to change that screen there. All right, just while we're here, why don't I demonstrate? Let's go to here. We'll view all the list. Mary's point above, Valerie says you found after repairing sites it takes longer than using SP transfer to transfer the important info to a new site. Oh, Mary's Point up there. Oh, okay. Can I speak to Mary's Point? Okay. SP transfer. Let's see. I have SP transfer somewhere. Is that so? You want to see what SP transfer does? Yeah. I mean, SP transfer is basically a tool that you would use if you're restarting your site. So if you have 100 articles on a site and the thing got hacked and it's just a mess, and you haven't been able to clean it up using an audit for the information in my Joomla, which I think is probably a great way to go. Another thing that you can do. Okay, you haven't heard SP transfer. Let's take a look at SP transfer, and I'll show you what that is. SP transfer. I don't have it, but let me install it. Manage, install. Oh, timed out. And I'm just going to look to see where that is on my other screen here. And we'll just bring that up. So we're going to go upload a package file there, and I'm going to go SP transfer. And let's find the tree. Okay, and this one is from April the 29th, 2018. But I'm going to install it by dragging it from my other screen and put it in there. SP transfer is also great for copying things, I believe, from other Joomla versions, like 2.5 to 3, but we should probably look and see that first. Components, SP transfer. Let's show the screen. Okay. Now you'll see here it says, in order to be able to remotely update this extension, you need to put in your download ID. Okay, because it is a paid extension. And it says it couldn't connect to the source database. It couldn't connect to the database of the site you want to copy things from. And to do that, you would go to, let's see, I think it's options. Yes, so there's some rules to go through here. So core Joomla data. Do you want to transfer over the same IDs? Let's see, transfer items and save with the new ID. So if on the other site its ID is 6, and on the new, do you want to give it a new ID on the new site, or are you trying to keep things as close as possible to the original? If something has the same ID, don't transfer it, skip it. Or if it has the same ID, replace the existing items. All right. So if you have your new site and the article with ID 6 is different, then you just overwrite it if you want to make a copy of what you're bringing over. Okay, Mary says she uses it to transfer between old and new versions as well. Good. All right, so replace existing files. Now, you can also set it up in order to copy files over from another Joomla install. If you're doing it because the site's hacked, don't do that. You just want to stick with the data. Now, here in the database, this is where you would put in the information. So, for instance, just the information that you would have in your configuration.php file in order to connect to the database, you would put that information in here for the old site that you're copying from. The database name, the username, the password, and the database tables prefix, which in this case, for my database, would be CYB. All right. It's not going to copy over this stuff from my Joomla, but that's okay. That gets regenerated when you do a new scan anyways. A new scan and doing things in my Joomla. All right, so where are we here? FTP. So this is where you could put in FTP information for copying over certain folders from your old site. So that's really great if your site's not hacked, but you're upgrading from versions and you've got your whole images path, images folder, and other things. You want to just copy that right over, or you can always just download it and upload it as well. Remote updates. I did not know about remote update. Oh, that's for getting the latest version of this extension. You put in your download ID. All right, so let's cancel. And then basically what happens is once you are connecting to the other database, you can then select what you want to move over. You can select all user groups, or you can just select some. And you would click in here, and then you would type in, I think it would populate the ones that you can copy over. Same thing with, access levels, tags, users, menus, all these things have your chance to move over. And it says make sure to back up the database of the receiving site, this site, before each transfer. So that's what SP transfer does. It would save you manually moving things over one at a time or copying and pasting. So you have 4 or 5 pages or whatever, or 20 pages. You figure you work away at it during the day, do 5 pages, go watch a YouTube video or something like that. Then that's fine too. It really just comes down to, look, I think too, one of the things that I find when I'm working on my site is I know that there's a faster way to do it, but I'm at the point where I think I'll do the 20 minutes grunt work than the 5 minutes of mental strain to try to figure out the 1 minute way to do it, and knowing that I could learn it later on. So everybody's at a different level, and I think we just have to be happy with where we're at and relax, because we learn more when we're relaxed. And as we gain experience, we just gain more confidence and things come faster. So that's my excuse for not being better at regex, regular expressions. Anyway, so what you would do is you would copy these articles over. They'll get put in according to the rules that you set up, and as far as that we saw earlier about the options for overwriting with same IDs or whatnot, and then you'll be there. Database transfer. Now I believe that when this is connected, it shows you things you can copy over from other extensions. All right, so let's just close this. We'll go back. Files transfer. Here's a history of what got copied over. Nothing from the remote site because we haven't done that. And then the history log, what's been going on. Nothing has happened because we haven't done anything as well. It probably would be an interesting Watch Me Work live stream to get someone to actually do some migration. I wonder if I can get the SP transfer folks to do that. Okay, so in fact, let me just change the screen here, because before I forget, I'm going to make myself a note for that. I have a little post-it note that I have here on my screen for Basic Joomla, and no, that's not it. YouTube, there we go. Maintenance, Watch Me Work. Let's put that down here. Enter, and SP transfer demo. All right. And I will close that. And we will go back to what is on the screen. Okay, so back into the database, one I just for fun, and I'm going to do this with my live site, Basic Joomla. Let's go down to users, CyberSalt users. So I'm going to go to export. And I'm going to export just the database CyberSalt users. So I'm going to uncheck these 2 columns here. I'm going to scroll down to CYB users and check across. And then I'm going to export. I will save it. So this is Basic Joomla 2. I'm just going to add users in there just to keep it differentiated. Now it's there. Now, a cool thing is we can open that with Notepad++. If you haven't watched the Watch Me Work live stream on Notepad++ that Vinny did a long time ago, then on the channel, check that out. Now here is the code for that table. CyberSalt, create table, CyberSalt users. Here's all the information for each line. This is actually creating the different, this is creating the table with the different columns. And then it's inserting into those. And there we go. 1000, Tim Davis, CyberSalt, webmaster, basicjoomla.com, and a whole bunch of other information. And there's 1014, Susan Davis. Here's all of the users. So a really cool thing that I could do is I could change the spelling of my name here, save it, and when I do what I'm about to do, which is delete the table off the server, I'm going to upload this. The time change, the change would be in there as well. So I have actually found, for instance, let's say that you want to export export a table from a database that has the prefix CYB, and you want to replace it with a prefix CYBB or anything else. You could actually open up the SQL file here, and you could go search and select, search, replace. And you're going to look for everywhere that CYB underscore, and you're going to replace it with CYB underscore. Now, if there's anywhere in your database where CYB underscore exists, and it's not because it's the prefix of a table, that's going to get replaced. But generally, if you're using something that's very unique like this, it's okay. But that would be a great way, because I could go replace all, and now close. And now when I upload this, I could actually have a different table with a different name. In fact, let me just show you. Okay, I don't want to get out of order. Let's leave that there. Now I'm going to go back to basicjoomla.com. To the basic Joomla database. I'm going to go down to users, and I'm going to just click empty. So we have 41 lines there. I'm going to click empty. So since you want to truncate a complete table, I'm about to do that, yes. And I say OK. Now we see users is 0, it's empty. And so when we go back here, let's see what happens. I'm going to go refresh on users, and it says error. It cannot find that. Oh, let's see here. It's timed out. I broke it. I broke it. In fact, is this even working? The front page. Yeah, the front page still works, but the back page is broken. Let's see. Let's get in there. Why is that unable to? Oh, because there's no users. Duh. I can't even log in because there's no users. The front page is working because it's not anywhere that would show users as an author is probably just going to be blank or some mistake. But there literally is no users to log in. Well, how do I fix that? Let's do this. I'm going to go to import, and I'm going to choose the file, and I'm going to go up to delete, and there it is, basic Joomla users to SQL. I just want to show you. I have this open in Notepad++, and I've changed it, but I didn't save it. All right. So this file here is the original version that I just downloaded. Watch this. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go open, and I'm going to go. The table CYB users already exists. Well, that's very odd. Although it says import has been successfully finished, but there was one error. It tried to create the table, but it already existed. So it's just saying that. But as we look down here, there's what the error was. But it did import everyone because it was successful with 16. Let's go back to the scroll down here. Users. No, that did not work. Well, you know, it should have. There should be something in that file that says if the table exists, just ignore it and then fill the lines. But it did not. So let's just go back and double check. No, so here's what I'm going to do just right here. I'm going to select, I'm going to go and I'm going to drop this all together like a hot potato. Like a hot potato. Johan says skip in the SQL file the create table. Yes, now we could do that. What Johan is saying is, now I've already created it. We could, here, this is just confusing. Let's close this. I don't want to save those changes. Let's go back to the download that we had here. And that's sort by date. This is going to take just a little bit. It'll get this reopened. Oh, that's going to take a while. There we go. End date. Okay, here it is here. Let's open that again. And you'll see here, the prefix is CYB. So what Johan is saying here is that we could delete this part here at the beginning that tries to create the table. Create table. We could actually select this out and then just remove it, save the file and upload it. I'm not going to do that right now because I just wiped it out. So here let's do a couple things. This is going to be a little bit repetitive. Johan says that's why you received the error. The SQL file is included the create default PHP myadmin export. Yeah. I have had it before where if it put it in saying if it exists, remove it. But I think what you're saying is import maybe somewhere in here. All right, well, first of all, let's import that file. Or remove the user table. Yeah, okay. So let's put that in there. This will work because we wiped the thing out. See, it's all super happy. Now, if we click here, we can go to users and browse. We have 41. They're in there. Now, look, let's do this. Let's, what's the first thing? Let's drop this table again. And now let's look at our file here that we have open in Notepad++. Notice this beginning here. Create table. Let's select this line. Everything down to the end of this semicolon. SQL commands, if I'm saying this correctly and am correct, require a semicolon at the end. So I'm just going to create this part that makes the table. And to do that, we're going to go into, we're going to go up to this SQL tab. And you'll see up here, there's a place where we can paste our SQL command that we just copied, which, is there a way for me to, which basically, let's make this a bit bigger, is the command for making that table, but only the command for making the table. So over here in the far right, I'm going to click go. And now it ran that little section. And we'll go down and there's users. It exists, it's created, but there's no records in it. Now, remember we got that error for saying that the table already existed. We could then go down to this section here that we just used since it created it, and we could just delete that. And now we have two choices. We could save this. I will save that. And then we could import this file, and it would just run only the lines and put those back in. Or, in fact, let's just do that. Let's go import, choose a file. Here's the one we just saved it at 12:16 here in local time. Go open, we click go, and le voila. Go down to CyberSalt users. There's 41. Now let's do something really fun. Let's empty that again. Not drop it, we'll empty it. Now there's no users in there. Let's go back to our Notepad++. All of these commands for adding users, we can actually just go Control A, Control C, or we could right click and copy. Then we could go back into, back into our SQL window, and we could paste. It's only 106 lines in this case, but we can say go. Oh, index for dump tables, index for alter table, multiple primary key defined. Okay, so I've got something in here I don't want. I think it'll be this beginning stuff. Why don't we just copy this insert command? And I'm going to copy that. And then we'll go into here. Let's go Control A, Control V, and let's go. Duplicate entry 1000 for primary. It looks like that last error did not prevent users from being added. Yeah, there's 41. So the last error that I got, everything did get inserted. It was one of the lines afterwards that I ignored and deleted. This stuff down here, because it already existed, I think. And we can probably get that error if I do this. Copy that. Let's go back to here, SQL, paste in there. Oops. Go. Yeah, multiple primary key defined. So that is that's where that error came from. I did show you earlier that here, I'm going to close this tab. We're going to go into here. We're going to go to export. I think I can export from viewing that table as well. So let's see here. Export users. No, that's export custom show all options. Let's uncheck that. Go down to the bottom to users, and now we're going to go. And I'm going to name this one prefix changed. All right. Because I'm now going to open up this file. And remember we did the search and replace. Let's look for CY, and it's already typed in. So we're going to search for, zoom in on that, sorry. No, that won't zoom in. CYB underscore, and replace with CYBB underscore. That's replace all and close. So now we see that it says to create a table structure for CYBB underscore users. Create table CYBB users. No worries, Valerie. I think we're just off on a hike now. So yeah, you can catch up on this later. And thanks for asking a question and that got us going on a good topic today after the original topic. So anyway, so watch this. I could save this file and import it, or we could just go Control A and copy it. I'll do that. The other thing, because the one of the I'll come back to this in a second. Now we go up to here. We go to SQL. We paste that in there. All right. We go and click Go. It's created. But what have we created? We have created a table. See, CYBB underscore users. Joomla is never going to access that because we changed the prefix. You would have to change the setup in your Joomla configuration to access this. But why would you do that when all these other ones are here? But just to show you that you can edit files and paste them in the SQL, and then you can, just some different things that you can do. I'm going to drop that. The comment that I wanted to make is this. It is possible to download, to export your database for your Joomla site. And it can be so big that when you go to upload it to restore or to put it somewhere else, your server may time out depending on what your company has set. A great thing to be able to do and to know is this, is that if you have a huge file that is like huge, and it's timing out when you're trying to upload it, you could break that file up into different sections. So you could if you have a number of tables that have been created, you can go into this file here. You can go to the create table and keep going down. Just look for the code. So for instance, you would say, okay, I need to create a table. And so you select that and then insert it. And when you get to the end of where the inserting happens, you would just select that and then hit Control Copy and then paste that just as we have into that SQL tab in PHP MyAdmin. Once that upload is done and completed, then you go back. You then go back and select a new section of the code for uploading or to reinstall your database. And so in that way, you can just you can overcome the problem of a host not allowing you enough time uploading, or maybe even your file's so big it takes too long with your internet connection to upload and fix it. You can break it up into little pieces. Just be wise about your commands here and what's happening. So for instance, insert into CYBB users ID, all this here. You might want to insert, let's see here, you might look, see the users, they end with colon. So you have 1066. You might want to basically go and select this text here right down to the end of 1012 and go copy and then paste and insert it, and then later on go and delete those out and then select this in order this line and the next ones that are down and copy and paste, and you get the idea. It's just like you can't upload the whole quilt at once, but you upload one square at a time. Johan says PHP admin supports large files that uploads and imports the befallen parts. It does that. Yeah, okay. So it supports large files. Yes, it uploads and imports. Oh yes, or it'll do zip as well. You can add some compression. I just know, and I haven't run into it a long time because I have my own servers now with my company, so I just run them wide open. So there's not that big of a problem. But I did have, I was hosting with a company where just for the speed of it, it was timing out. It was shared hosting, and some of the stuff and the computers, the servers themselves weren't that fast. So it was just too big to do, and I had to figure out a way to upload and get around that. But yes, yeah, like Ivor's, Ivor says, or zip the database. Johan says supports large files. If you use PHP admin, you don't have to split the file yourself. Okay, so what Johan is saying is that if you have a super large file, it can handle it, and it will split it. It will handle itself. We don't have to split it, and that's good to know. Still, though, if you've got a host that will only allow a process to run for 90 seconds, 2 minutes, or you have a slow internet connection and it's timing out, that is sort of a way to work around. But yes, it's way better than it has been. And Johan, I'm glad that you shared that, because I didn't know that PHP admin would do that. So it probably stops at a certain point and then recovers and does more and more. I just know that there's been times, and it's always in the middle of the night when there's no support to call or anything, where you've got to work out a way in order for the sorry, the phone's distracting me. You have to work out a way in order to progress. So, hi-oh, good to see you, man. It is nice to see your wave. All right, so I think just as Hi-oh gets here, whoops, there we go. Yeah, I haven't seen you on the stream for a while, but of course I haven't been streaming for a couple of weeks. So, Ivor says his worst hack was, let's change this, was a few years ago. The hacker had changed all the super admin users on the whole server, and luckily you had a very savvy partner that did a script to change them again. Excellent. Yeah, that would be a nasty one. All the super admin users, yeah, that would be an announcement. Now, again, PHP MyAdmin is a great way to go about changing a password as well. And I have some tutorials on that. But basically what you would do is this. You would go to users. Let's find that. You certainly would be trapped out of that, though, if you couldn't log in. Users. And then you would browse. You would go to there, and you would go into the user. You go to password, and you would then set it to MD5, and then type in just your password, which could be anything, but you could just go GGGJJJLLL. That would be your password. Then log in with that password. As soon as you've logged in, go in and change your password right away, and that would change it to the proper and more secure version. So I'm not going to do that on mine here, but oh shoot, can't see the screen. Oh my goodness. Yes, all right. So let's just I will show you again that. Go down to users and browse, and go to your username, go to password, set the under function to MD5, change your password to whatever you want, go log in, and then change your password right away on your Joomla site. And then, especially if who knows? But I don't know if that hack meant that as soon as you saved it, it would change it. Or it constantly changed passwords. Who knows? But I mean, that's the thing about getting hacked, right? All right, so I'm not going to do that. Let's go cancel. It's okay to leave this page. And let's see here. All right, Mary says she has a slow connection to upload a large database. Big dump, staggered MySQL dump importer. Okay, and you had mentioned that before, Mary, about a staggered MySQL dump importer called Big Dump. Vinny said he couldn't see the screen. Yeah, I got that. Johan, PHP admin, MyAdmin, check remote tab. Disable access from other sources than the web server itself. Some hosts allow PHP remote SQL. Yeah, an amateur streamer. It's been a while. PHP check remote tab. Now, Johan, that's probably in. That's probably somewhere. I wonder, Johan, where does that get changed? Yeah, if you don't, so remote SQL means that you can allow people from a different server to access your SQL server, your databases. So if you're hosting with my company, CyberSalt, and but you have, for some reason what would you do? For some reason you have another program you want to give access to your database, and it's running on another server, you give permission for it to access. You can set that up in cPanel and give permission, I think. Yeah, so somewhere you would want to set that so that that is not possible. That's probably a good thing to rule out. Is that a cPanel thing? Let's see. cPanel databases, PHP MyAdmin. Oh, here's remote MySQL in cPanel. Let's check that out. Johan says he has to look it up. Let's check. All right, so here are the access hosts. These hosts are allowed to access this server, this database, and it looks like nobody else is. So literally what you would have to do is you would come up with an IP. Oh my shoot, sorry. Can't see the screen. All right, let's back up. Here we are, cPanel, databases, remote MySQL. These are all IPs, dedicated IPs that are set up on my server, on this server. And if you want to add a host, you would give them permission by putting in the host, which is the IP, or a qualified name. And then, interesting, that's an old one, I don't need anymore there. And then you would put that in there, so you would say purple, purple dot somehost.com, and then you put a comment, say who it is. That'd be some host, and then it would be added, and they would be allowed to access your SQL server. Yes, Vinny says I can't see your screen yet. This is why you don't stop streaming for a couple of weeks. Yeah, well, listen, if I'd been streaming with some of the internet connections I had while I was traveling, you would not, you wouldn't have enjoyed that either. So you can give remote access. So I'm guessing it's probably off. I think too, why don't we just do that? This is a cPanel, turn off remote SQL access. Let's see what the forum says. Enable remote MySQL from cPanel. Another hosting company has this. And that just takes you to where we saw where you actually add it. So in this case, you have to add an IP to allow people to access it. All right. Let's just also Google this. Turn off remote SQL access, WHM. That's the cPanel Web Host Manager. Log onto your WHM as root, go to SQL Services, click on additional MySQL access hosts, and then you can enter them as well. So your host can do that as well for you. So it looks like, at least in cPanel, unless it's added, it is closed. So you don't need to turn it off. You could probably, I don't know if you would ever do this. All right, I have turned chat on. I'm going to say that in my head anyways from now on. You could have a Joomla install on a server one side of the country and a Joomla install on a server on the other side of a country, and you could have them both using the same database on one of those servers or a third server. I don't know if there'd be any advantage to that, but it would just be something that you could do. But really, like I said before, why you would give someone access to the server, to your database server, would be for an app to access it for or some program that was using their username. Maybe you have a customer database set up that in your company, so that someone calls up and says, oh, I would like to change my email address or whatever, and you do it on your little app and it changes it right on the server, but you don't want to give that program full access. So things like that you could do. No chat showing there that time. Anyways. All right, well, I wonder if there's anything else that we have left to do. Let's make that the right size. Let me give you a little bit of show and tell from my trip. All right, let's see. I'm going to go to there. Going to go to camera uploads. Some fun things from my trip. So when I flew from Victoria. Victoria. There's the airport in Victoria. This is a beautiful, slightly hazy because there's wildfires in Alberta at this time. Anyway, so that's a picture I took out the window as I was leaving Victoria. That's Victoria Airport. Very nice little tiny airport. If you ever visit here, yeah, that's a little too pixely. But anyways, it's nice. If you don't have checked baggage, you can be out to your car, off the plane, out to your car in probably about 5 minutes. So that was nice. Anyway, so then landing in Edmonton, which was Edmonton, Alberta, which was south of the wildfire, but the air was bad. This is what it looked like when we were on our approach to Edmonton, and this wasn't close to the ground. This was up a bit. that's the exact same wing as we were flying through the smoke from the wildfire. So that was crazy, and it had that accurate house fire smell inside the plane too. When we hit this part, it was pretty yucky. So, and then when we were driving, there was quite a few places where street lights were on, and it was like the last 5 minutes of day. It was pretty junky. All right, so let's see here. This is the first rental car I got. I had it in Edmonton. A Ford Fusion Hybrid, which was really cool. I haven't driven a hybrid before for any great length of period of time. And this was really nice, really hard to get. First of all, my car is a turnkey car, so I don't push a button. My 2007 Impala. I don't push a button to start the car. And I also don't push a button to turn the car off. But this was really cool because it kind of just coasted a little. It would run quietly on the battery power. The downside is that the trunk was incredibly small because the batteries were in the trunk. And so once I put in my one checked bag in there, the trunk was pretty much full. I could put my camera bag in there, but that was that. But let me tell you, let's go here. So then I flew to Toronto, picked up a rental car to go to the next conference, and this is what I got. The 2019 Dodge Charger. And that was a fun car. Rear wheel drive. It's got the 4-cylinder in it. The speedometer got up to 260. I did not go that fast, but it was a fun, super peppy car, and it handled really, really nice. So that was a fun driving that. And do I have anything else here? Well, here's a picture. That's the heart. That's the monitor for my dad when I took him for his angiogram. So I got to spend some time with my dad. Hey, for those of you that play Pokemon, it was community day on Sunday, so I spent the first hour and a half driving around with my grandson sleeping in the back of the car, and then woke him up and we caught some Pokemon. And he was all covered up nicely to keep him out of the sun there. And that's pretty much it for show and tell. Let's close those. All right, so don't you have any cute little Canadian cars I could have driven? Well, Vinny, I purposely selected full-size cars because I like driving a full-size car. I like the ride, and I'm telling you, the difference between a full-size car and a tiny car, well, especially in Edmonton on a 3-day rental, was like, I don't know, it's like $20 or something like that. So no, I like comfortable cars, and for the little bit of extra money, it was worth it. I will tell you, the Charger was a pig on gas. Also, when I picked it up, it had a quarter of a tank. It hadn't been filled up, so they knew that. But anyways, so then you know what it's like with the rental car. I've got to try to work it so that I don't return this with more gas than when I got it. I mean, I don't want to be stingy, but I certainly don't want to just fill it up to a full tank and then realize I only used half a tank, and then I'm, a quarter of a tank I'm giving away. Anyway, so that I did make a number of stops at gas stations, but no, we did have the same cute little North American cars that you have there in Vermont, but no, it's I was happy with that, and I did enjoy driving around the Charger. That was good. Anyways, so if anyone else has any show and tell that they've got or anything else to say, now is the time. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon and go grab some lunch and get on with my day. Catching up. I'll tell you, when you go away for 10 days, as you all know, and you're away from your tech and your setting and your office and your internet connection, and we don't really have a super fast laptop right now. There's a bunch that I didn't get done. But also, I decided I would just enjoy the time with family, the work that I had to do at the conferences and connections I was making with people. That was important, and so there was times where I could have done some work. I did do some photo editing at the Edmonton airport to upload to Facebook for the one conference that I've been at. But otherwise, I thought, you know what? I need to sort of differentiate between, I need to have work time and rest time. And I think for this probably holds true for many of you. When you work at home, or you're self-employed, or working your own business, it's always convenient for you to just go and do some more work. And then maybe you do some work and then you take a break. And I like that. I'm not against it. But what happens is you might end up letting your work creep into not giving you just downtime. And we do really need rest. I think we're created to rest from our work so that we can enjoy being, but also so that we can then come back refreshed and do our work. And there should be more of a divider. So on this trip, instead of constantly working, I would sit there and just watch people when I was waiting for my dad at the hospital, or watch people at the airport instead of just feverishly trying to get things done. Just relax. Plus, I'm not the best traveler, in the sense that if I start to get hot or tired dragging the suitcase around and I get a headache, it starts to bother me. So this time I was at the airport early for all 3 flights, once by mistake, the ride that I got in the first leg of the flight, but just taking it easy, keeping it all together, and just enjoying it, and just so I could arrive refreshed. So anyway, maybe that's a life tip for some of you today. It is for me. Just put the work down, have a life, and then come back to it later on. But I do realize that for me to do that, I have to keep up better on stuff, and I am behind. I'm always behind on stuff. So anyways, priorities and keeping things level. Johan is leaving. Greetings from the Netherlands. Greetings to you too, Johan. Thanks for contributing today. I'm leaving too. So everybody that's been in this chat, thank you very much for your questions, for your comments, for your help, instructions, and just for being there. I really have missed live streaming and missed connecting with you all. And so it is good to be back. And we'll see what happens on Maintenance Monday. And just keep plugging away things here on the channel. I think it was 1,300, and I guess I don't know how many subscribers there are right now. Let's just see here. No, I don't know. It's getting up there, almost to 1,500. I think it's like 1,387 or 77. Anyways, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support of this channel. Enjoy your Joomla sites, and God bless.